Ordinary, Powers Series Book 1, written by Starr Z. Davies, narrated by Nathaniel Asher. Ordinary. Noun. Of standard quality or rank, something regular or commonplace, of a person with no unique or distinctive features. Part 1. The consumption tax has been a strain on the people, and the Directorate understands that. However, with regression looming over our heads, preservation of our way of life must be the top priority. Elpis is all that remains in this broken world. If the city falls, humanity will go extinct. Dr. Joyce Cass, 2 months ago. 1. I consider myself an honest person. I try to keep my promises, try to do the right thing whenever possible. But sometimes something happens that pushes all of us to the edge, that challenges our beliefs and how we see the world. For me, it's the desire to be ordinary. 2. 3 days define who a person will be for the rest of their life. The day they are born, testing day, where their abilities are determined, and of course, career day, where social status, wealth, and future prospects are decided for them by an exhibition hall of employers. I passed my birth with great pains. According to stories Mom told me, my labor gave her particular difficulty. After arriving too soon, too weak to survive on my own, I lived in an incubator for the first 6 weeks of my life in a struggle to survive. It's why she sometimes, annoyingly, calls me tough guy. Up until testing day, everyone, from my teachers to my neighbors, called me a late bloomer and constantly reassured my parents that eventually I would fall into one of the 4 branches of powers. They said it as if doing so was something I would just stumble over on the sidewalk one day and say, "Oh look, there's my power." Testing day came early in the 9th year of schooling, alongside everyone else in my class. Those who had already developed their ability were divided into groups based on their branch of power: somatic for powers relating to the body, naturalist for those with organic powers, psionic for power of the mind, and divinic for those with powers outside our world. Mostly, this division left me and 3 other kids, Mo, Dave, and Leo, uncategorized. By the end of the day, only I remained unclassified. Testing day was a bitter disappointment for everyone in my family, including me. Ordinary people have powers and prospects. I have neither. Now I face career day, where I get to parade around a convention center with all the other doe-eyed 11th year students and try to convince businesses why my power is worth employment. Except I still don't have one, and probably never will. I've dreaded this day for years. Now, there's no escaping it. Miraculously, my parents haven't given up on me. They still hold on to the hope that everything is about to change. For all our sakes, I hope they are right. 3. "Eugene, you're gonna miss the tram!" Mom hollers up the stairs. I rush down, my feet hardly touching one step before I'm moving to the next. I grip the railing and sling myself around the landing at the bottom toward the kitchen. Dad stands at the polished granite counter, barely registering my presence. His uniform is perfectly pressed, and medals attached to his jacket chime as he closes his metal lunchbox. His broad shoulders often overwhelm me, a polar opposite of my very average build, but I suppose they are ideal for a high-ranking military man with enhanced strength. I never bothered to ask exactly what he does, but I know he works in the Department of Military Affairs. Mom sits at the table with a steaming cup of coffee cradled between her hands. The bright white mug peeks through her dark-skinned fingers as she raises it to her lips. A knowing smile sparkles in her dark eyes, and I can't help but wonder if she's reading me or Dad with her telepathic power. Love you, Mom, I say, grabbing an apple from the bowl on the countertop. Before I can say the same to Dad, he has already left the room. Good luck, tough guy. Knock 'em dead. She laughs as I brush a kiss across her cheek and bolt through the back door. Where's your jacket? Mom calls after me, but it's too late to turn back now. The tram roars down its line, coming in flashes between the houses at the end of the block. The stop is down a nearby alley. Crap, it's gonna be close. A somatic frowns at me as he rushes by at a sprint several times quicker than I could ever manage, his stocky form giving away his power before I spot the somatic mark on his arm. Sometimes things move too fast for my taste. Cursing under my breath, I tuck the apple into the pocket of my dark blue dress pants and pump my legs as hard as I can to catch up. The tram stops at the corner of the block just as I break out of the alley's mouth. A slender leg, one I'd recognize anywhere, just disappears through the open tram hole door. Bianca, I call out, hold the tram! Bianca sticks her head out, then leans through the open door, gripping the handle inside. Her black hair cascades around her shoulders. But the tram is already moving. You're late again, Ugene, she shouts, holding a hand toward me. I reach, just missing her fingers. Bianca leans farther, her foot hooked on the edge of the doorway, an easy feat for her and her somatic muscles. Jump! Without hesitation, I throw myself at her and the moving tram. Bianca's hand clamps down on my arm and yanks me into the tram, as if I weigh the same as a gym bag. I thump awkwardly against the front of the self-driving tram and stumble to the floor, dirtying my pressed dress pants. No one on the tram moves to help me up. Bianca easily swings her body inside and smooths her red blouse over her toned stomach. What would you do without me? Probably die? I chuckle, causing Bianca to scrunch her nose. Catch the next tram, I suppose, I say, examining the blood slowly seeping from a fresh scratch on my elbow. You could try a gentler landing. And you could try being on time for once, Bianca says, offering a hand to help me up. I take it, stand, and brush myself off, then notice that everyone else on the tram is staring at me, shying away like I have a catchable illness. Everyone here knows me somehow, through school or just the commute or my neighborhood. I have a reputation as that powerless kid. Regression from powers is a real danger to Elpis, which makes me look like undesirable number 1. Heat rushes to my cheeks, and I'm thankful for my darker skin. Bianca makes her way to a seat. I sit nearby. For the remainder of the ride to school, I admire Bianca when she isn't looking. I can't help it, really. The perfect shape of her long, muscular legs revealed beneath a tan skirt. Her wavy black hair, which shines even when the light isn't hitting it. The way her smile lifts the corner of her eyes when she shifts over for an older woman who boarded the tram. I would have missed the stop for school if she hadn't been going to the same place. Shaking out of my stupor, I step off, remembering the lump in my pocket. I reach into my pocket, and my fingertips brush against the wet skin of the apple. Upon examination of the apple's skin, I spot a large bruise where it must have hit the tram floor along with me. Sighing, I bite into it anyway and enter the tall, arching doorway proclaiming Memorial High School in all its glory engraved in the stone. Everything about Memorial High School screams upper class, from the gleaming windows to the pristinely polished tile floors. The students all bear the same "I'm better than you" body language. The clothes reflect high fashion. Salisbury schools are for the well-off, the 80-plus percenters. All the parents rank high on the CAS scale, a scientific algorithm that determines the strength of each person's individual power based on rigorous testing day exams. In another day, I will be cast out of this society and thrust into the lower classes, where the consumption tax will inevitably land me in prison within months. The tax was introduced when I was 10 to balance the scales. Everyone's power creates an output into society, whether it be growing food or offering services to help others, Basically, anything to help society run smoothly and efficiently. But for those who consume more than they produce, their taxes are raised. Basically, the more your powers contribute to society, the lower your taxes, because you give more than you take. The inverse is true as well. The less your powers contribute, the higher your taxes. When you can't pay, you end up in prison until the debt is paid. My contribution is at 0. I'm in serious trouble. Tomorrow, once career day has had a chance to dole out job offers to the students, my class will graduate. I may not feel great about my prospects, but at least I will be out of this place. I doubt even the wasteland beyond Elpis could be worse than high school, and I may have no choice but to find out. Lower classmen rush off to class. The graduating class gathers in the gymnasium on bleachers, waiting to be bussed off to career day. Bianca rushes over to her friends. I stand near the bleachers watching when someone bumps my shoulder, nearly knocking me to the ground. "Watch it, Ugene," says Jimmy, probably one of the dumbest but most talented naturalists in our class. He tested into the 85th percentile for his naturalist power on testing day, particularly in hematology, and ever since, his arrogance inflated to cosmic levels. "Your wit is astounding, as always," I grumble, rubbing my shoulder. He smirks. Then the air thins and the room tilts slightly to the left. I stumble, catching my balance on the nearest bleacher before easing my unusually heavy weight onto the bench. Jimmy's laughter reaches my ears as my blood thumps hard. "Mr. Richmond, you've been warned about using your abilities on another student," a stern male voice says. I blink as the air rushes back and the world rights itself. Mr. Springer, the natural biology teacher, stands between Jimmy and me with his arms crossed. Jimmy rolls his eyes and joins Bianca and her friends, sliding his arms around her waist. Watching it makes my stomach revolt. Mr. Springer turns to me. "Are you okay, Ugene?" "Peachy," I mumble, rubbing my aching temple. That twat gave me a headache. "Well, okay then. Get to your seat." Mr. Springer removes himself from the situation, allowing me to recover with some modicum of dignity. Unlike most of the teachers at school, who gave up on teaching me anything useful when no power emerged, Mr. Springer taught me genetic biology, power mutation, and the potential indications for latent power triggers. At first, I think he still believed he could help me discover my power. But my affinity for understanding the science behind powers, along with my hunger for the knowledge, encouraged him to continue. Together, we examined my DNA in relation to his to see what made me different, or if any hope remained. "There's nothing exciting about being ordinary," he used to say, "but you don't need powers to have brains." Easy to say when you have both. About 10 minutes into the school day, everyone is loaded onto buses and carted off to the convention center downtown. In the overcrowded bus, I sit alone and watch the buildings grow as we approach, until they loom high over our heads. The tallest is Paragon Tower, home of biomedical research and pharmaceutical giant Paragon Diagnostics. The four corners of the building twist clockwise into the sky like a massive helix, coming to a point at the 200th floor. On cloudy days, the top stories disappear. We pass a construction site for a new skyscraper. 2 workers hoist a steel beam, bare-handed, from a truck and walk it toward the skeleton of the building. They lift it above their heads, and the beam floats out of their hands, rising toward the highest point of the building, where another team of men works to guide the beam into place using telekinesis. Some of the strongest somatics and psionics work in construction, lifting building materials with muscles and telekinesis. The stronger your powers, the more you're paid. The bus pulls up to the largest of the 3 squat towers outside the convention center, and everyone pours out. Crowds are gathered beneath the overhang that covers the convention center's sidewalk. I hang back at the end of the line, not at all eager to haul my unspectacular backside into the exhibition hall. As I inch toward the front of the bus, I examine the signs reading, "Powers are powers no matter what," and "Abolish the caste scale." While some signs are more creative than others, they all convey the same feeling, that people shouldn't be discriminated against based on the strength of their power, that they shouldn't be imprisoned because they can't pay the tax. It's irrelevant to me either way. I don't have a power. As we make our way through the doors of the convention center, protesters sneak flyers into the hands of everyone unfortunate enough to make eye contact with them. A woman with blonde hair pulled back into a severe braid shoves a blue page into my hand. I don't know what to say. Not that there is time to say anything, so I read the flyer as I follow the others toward the exhibition hall. Fight Prop 8.5 jumps out in large, bold letters across the top of the page. It goes on to invite those opposed to Proposition 8.5 to join the fight. Unsure exactly what this proposition is, or what difference I can really make, I stuff it into the pocket of my dress pants to throw out later. 4. Students filter through the open doors of the exhibition hall where the cacophony of noise filters out. As we enter the hall, each student gives their name and is handed a glass tablet illuminating their selections. I peer over Moe's shoulder as he turns his unit on, and the holographic results display on the tablet, showing his rank on the CAS scale, 19, and his potential job prospects, 52. He heads deeper into the hall. Name? The woman at the door asks. Ugene Powers. She looks bored as she enters my name and a code into the tablet, then hands it to me, revealing her naturalist brand, the encircled oak tree on the left hand. I step through the open doors into the noise of the exhibition hall. Employers are divided primarily by the branches of power, though some of them have jobs in multiple branches. Banners hang from the ceiling advertising the different branches. Somatic in red with the logo of flexed muscles, naturalist in green with the logo of an oak tree, divinic in blue with the logo of the Milky Way, and psionic in yellow with the logo of a brain. In each section, rows upon rows of employer booths stretch across the massive floor. I stumble forward as an excited student rushes past, shaking me out of my shocked stupor. I activate my tablet and look down at my results. The bright blue lettering and zeros mock me. CAS scale rank, 0.0001. Employment booth listings, 3. The option to see the listings or bring up the exhibition hall map rises from the tablet. I chew my lip and tap the choice to bring up the location of my 3 potential employers on the exhibition hall map. As the hologram changes, I glance over in time to see Jimmy showing off his results to his posse. Employment booth listings, 1,298. Great. Jimmy the idiot has so many listings he will have to filter them to choose what he wants. Mine would fit on the top quarter of the tablet's surface. There's no justice in this world. I head toward the nearest location dot on the 3D map, keeping my head down. I also have no desire to see all the opportunities that I am literally passing by. A friendly, broad-shouldered man with skin even darker than mine hands out samples of food to the students who stop at his booth. It creates quite a crowd of hungry teens. "You on my list?" he asks a young man across the table from him, his voice deep and booming. "No." The boy laughs as if it were the most insane idea out there. The man shrugs, revealing his name tag, Harvey Worthington, owner. Harvey hands the boy a square of sandwich anyway. "Nothing nobler than filling a man's stomach," Harvey says. I nudge my way forward inch by inch as students take a sample, engage briefly in conversation with Harvey or his assistant Joan before moving on. The banner on the wall of the booth reads, "Let us eat," where our meals are about more than just food. "You look like you could use a whole plate," Harvey says, eyeing me up and down as I nudge my way to the front of the crowd. Subconsciously, I glance at my shirt and dress pants. There's no denying that I'm like a pencil, lanky. "You look lost," Harvey laughs, and the sound booms over the noise around us. "You on my list?" "Yes." Harvey reaches a colossal hand out toward me, and I extend my own to shake, but he takes my hand and pulls me behind the table where two chairs face each other. Joan closes the space he previously occupied, engaging with the students in his absence. "So, tell me a little about yourself," Harvey says, settling back comfortably in the chair across from mine. I can't help but notice how dwarfed the somatic brand is on his bicep, barely peeking out from his shirt sleeve. "Don't you want to look at my rank?" I ask, shifting my own tablet across my lap, turned off. "Does it matter?" I then realize Harvey doesn't have a tablet. I glance around the booth and see it on the floor inside one of the boxes of supplies he brought along. I guess not? I bite my lip again and try to gather some sense of confidence. "My name is Ugene Powers. I go to Memorial High, but I don't know what I want to do with my life yet." Well, that was a lie. I'm forming a habit of lying today. For a second, I think I might have said the wrong thing, but Harvey smiles at me. "I don't think anyone ever knows what they want to do with their life," he says. "We all just move from one thing to the next, searching." That seems interesting to me. "What's your core focus at Memorial High?" That's the dreaded question. Harvey hasn't looked at my rank yet, or he would know I'm powerless. "Sciences, mostly," I answer, "and writing." "What sciences are most interesting to you?" "Biological, mostly," I say. "I'm interested in how the body works." Truth. There must be some reason I am the way I am. The answer is somewhere in science. Unfortunately, only divinics, like Bianca's older brother Forrest, and naturalists land those jobs. I'm severely unqualified. "So you're a divinic?" asks Harvey, brows lifting. Is he impressed? Well, time to let him down gently. No. "Naturalist?" he guesses, and I shake my head. Harvey sits forward, massive forearms resting on gigantic thighs. The chair creaks a little under his weight. "You aren't a somatic." His calculating look makes me uncomfortable. I hate when people look me over and just assume I can't possibly be a somatic just because I'm not stocky enough, not strong enough. "So, you're a psionic. Well, that could make for a good dishwasher or busboy, I suppose. What's your specialty?" The words come out slowly. I don't have one. Harvey just stares at me like I grew an extra head. The silence is awkward and painfully long. Suddenly, he bursts into laughter. "Oh, now that's a clever joke." The depth of his voice vibrates against my chest. "I like you. I never would have thought to answer with that." Harvey wipes tears from the edges of his eyes. Not exactly the reaction I was expecting. The amusement dies with slow, awkward chuckles as he notices my deadpan expression. Then the silence becomes very real. The calm before the storm. Harvey and I just watch each other. Finally, he cocks his head. "You're serious?" I nod again. Harvey sits up straighter, smoothing his pants with those enormous hands. "So," he pauses to clear his throat, "you have no powers? At all? You're regressed?" He rubs at his brow and sighs heavily, adjusting in his seat. The news has made him anxious. "Well, Ugene, The clock is ticking, and I know any moment he will dismiss me politely. This is my last chance to sway him. "Mr. Worthington," I say, "I know I'm not your typical dishwasher or whatever, and I can't keep the plates from hitting the floor with psionic powers, but it doesn't mean I can't do the job. Am I really so desperate that I'm struggling to hold on to a dishwasher job?" "Ugene." Harvey sighs so heavily, his whole body appears to deflate. There's something in his eyes I can't identify. "It isn't that. It's just, with the current climate around Proposition 8.5, it puts my business in a tricky place. If I hire you, it could come back to my restaurant. I could lose business." The implication is clear enough. Harvey shifts, and I can tell he is about to get up. I hate it, but realize that if I don't succeed here, I only have 2 more prospects. I jump to my feet. "Please, just give me a week to show you what I can do. 1 week. You don't even have to pay me for that week." The students at the table watch us now. I try not to look, not to let them know I notice. But Harvey notices and hesitates. Fear, that's what it is. The look in his eyes is fear. People fear what they can't understand, and apparently Proposition 8.5 has some significance. I don't understand. I understand fear of regression, but this is something else, something deeper. 1 week of free labor must be enticing. If I can just get that 1 week to show him I can do the job, it could make all the difference. The slope of his shoulders gives Harvey away. Eugene, I'm sorry, Harvey says, and I can tell that he really is by the way his brows pull together. His hand falls on my shoulder like a weight. I wish you all the best, but I won't lie. It's gonna be tough. You might want to learn a little more about what's going on out there, but stop by any time for a meal on the house. Harvey's expression suddenly changes back to the jovial, smiling man he was earlier as he approaches the table again. The weight of his hand shifting off my shoulder feels like a mountain sliding into place. I want to stand on the table and scream that there is nothing wrong with me, but it won't do any good. People already fear the danger of power regression, and whatever this proposition is, that fear seems to be growing. With a sigh, I pull up the second employer on the map. It takes about 5 minutes to make my way through the crowded aisles of the exhibition hall to the right booth. No tables or chairs occupy the second booth, nor are there pamphlets or digital sharing links for the tablets, allowing me to scan a code for more information. 2 men in plain gray uniforms talk to one another, one of them holding a tablet, and both ignoring me standing there. The sign that hangs behind them on the booth wall is plain, displaying a white trash can logo with thick arrows circling each other. City Waste Management stands out against the green banner in white letters. Look at this one of the men says, huddled over a tablet with the other. Even Gus's rank is higher than that, and he's worthless, the other says. Excuse me. Both stop and look at me blankly. After a moment, the one holding the tablet says, Name? Eugene Powers. He taps the screen, and his brows shoot up his forehead as he passes the tablet off to his partner without comment. Is this for real? The partner whispers back, his disbelief evident across his wrinkled brow. The first guy squares his shoulders, making his shirt shift enough to reveal the somatic brand on his arm. We don't got an opening for you, powerless. I lick my lips and prepare for protest, but the way their brows draw down and their jaws set in contempt forces me to take a step back, then a couple more until my back bumps into a student from another school. Watch it, she says, brushing her hands over her peach dress. I turn to her and apologize, then move up the aisle quickly to the first corner and bolt out of the crowded walkway. I have to twist sideways to get by a group blocking the path. The next listing is in the somatic area as well, but I'm in no rush to get there. Instead, I move toward the back wall of the exhibition hall, shifting and twisting to make my way through the crowd. The voices sound louder, and for some reason, my heart is racing. I press a hand to my chest as my back finally rests against the cool brick wall. A chill bleeds through the clothes of my dress shirt, relieving some of the tension. Eugene? Bianca approaches, the heels of her red dress shoes making her muscular calves stand out. She wasn't wearing those on the tram. What's going on? Why are you over here? I'm fine, I lie. Just some jerks reminding me I'm powerless, is all. Don't let them get to you, she says. Jerks will always be jerks, but you're smarter than anyone I know. Anyone? A smirk tilts the corner of her mouth. Well, maybe not smarter than Forrest, she admits, referring to her older brother. For a moment, her face takes on a haunted expression, but it quickly passes. Forrest has the job I dreamed of one day attaining at Paragon Diagnostics, but without a power to get me an in, there was no way it would ever happen. Glad you're okay. I gotta run. I have like a few hundred booths to make my way through and so little time. Good luck. Right, a few hundred. And she probably narrowed her list based on her own interests. Bianca Pond, somatic muscle memory 68th percentile. She could pack more punch in one finger than I could with my whole body. With a mutter of disgust, I turned my attention to my tablet and tapped the dot for the last prospect while making my way back into the flow of the aisle. The name pops up from the 3D display and pulls me up short. Paragon Diagnostics. I blink, my breath catching, and my feet become rooted to the floor. There must be some mistake. I tap the screen to bring up the booth's location on the exhibition hall map. Swallowing hard, excitement and hope pumping through me for the first time in years, my feet carry me swiftly along the crowded aisles from one end of the hall to the other.
If you enjoyed this sample, click the links in the description to hear more. Do you want free audiobooks, ebooks, or autographed paperbacks? Join me on Patreon at patreon.com/szdavies_character-assassin. You'll gain access to my Discord server, behind-the-scenes updates, merch, and so much more.